Today I'm giving you 23 tips to improve at Warzone 2 in 2023 while totally coincidentally breaking down a 23 kill game that we had. Now starting off here with tip number 1, cash is really hard to come by in this game, but it is absolutely king. And I start there because it is part of the reason that we do land Observatory. You know, I know there's people here, it's a hotter drop so I can get a few kills, but most importantly, I know there's a ton of cash in Observatory, which leads me to tip number 2, pay attention to your potential stronghold buildings. And I highlight that right here because more times than not in Observatory, it's going to be this white building or this blue building. But since it's not, I actually know that it's going to be on the other side, which we have to keep in mind. But those potential stronghold buildings, you know, either the AI drop and you get your loadout, and if they don't drop, you know, there are legendary crates in there that give you a ton of cash, that give you UAVs, precisions, which you are going to see in this game right here. Now, when we talk about cash as king, guys, there's really one scenario that I want to prevent you from getting into. Of course, cash allows us to buy guns, allows us to buy UAVs, which gives us information. But how many times have you been caught in a situation where your teammate goes down, you don't have enough cash, and you can't find cash anywhere? That's really the scenario that I want to prevent you from getting into and why cash flow is so important. So tip number 1, cash flow. Tip number 2, pay attention to stronghold buildings. Now, tip number 3 right here is really all about your early game. When it comes down to your early game, guys, what you want to be paying attention to is 3 plate vests for both you and your teammates. That's going to make you as full strength as possible. But on top of that, paying attention to your guns. Right here, I've got a 1 attachment Vaznev, but I know that I'm really comfortable with that. Right there, you see me, I use that one. I'm going to actually come across another one here right in this bag that I stowed. Those duffel bags are really good for 3 plate vests, by the way. But 3 plate vests, and then looking for a comfortable primary and secondary. You know, when you buy a gun, right here we see one on the roof, so we know that there's another team here, and we have to get to, we'll see it in a second, we got to get all the way across. You'll see the orange flags here, but you know, when you buy a gun, I'm going to buy my primary first and then rely on these secondaries. The secondaries are the ones you really want to pay attention to because the Lockman, the Fennec, the Vaznev, you've got a bunch of good SMGs that are actually viable to run with a loadout primary, with an RPK. So those are just things we want to keep in mind and things you want to be paying attention to. Whereas like the TAC V's not as beneficial to use, you know, as I'm going to fight more and more. So those are kind of the first 3 tips that I have for you. Notice the potential stronghold building right here. We've got the orange flag, so we know that we actually have to get there. Now I'm going to go ahead and push this forward a little bit. We're going to end up fighting a team here in a second. Tacos is going to run into a team, grab that precision, and now we start to engage. Now, unfortunately, Tacos, he does get it down right here. He's going to run into this team, which is a little bit unfortunate. This is where we talk about the lack of outplay potential. You know, he gets it down right there, and I'm trying to look over him, but he chows, ends up going down, and the guy ends up thirsting him. Now, as we push in here, this guy's, just because of lack of audio, is not going to hear punt. Now we go ahead and get that guy. There's the team wipe right there. So Tacos got one. That guy doesn't hear us, and then we just focus on that last enemy. Now, Tacos isn't Goose, so we don't have to worry about buying him back just yet, but we got to see if he wins Goose or not. And then Punt actually drops me his Fennec right here. He wanted me to try it out. I'll tell Punt to leave this Fennec build down in the comments below for you guys, because I actually do like it a lot. Now, right here, notice the timing. It's right around 10 seconds. It's right at 10 seconds before this first circle starts to close is when your stronghold's open. So we're going to go in and work our way over this way. Try to see if anybody beat us here. We don't know if there's any teams maybe rotating over from this building or, you know, on this other side of Observatory. So I want to be the first one in to be able to get all that cash, but I also got to be careful to see if there's other teams here that are also thinking the same thing. So we're going to go ahead and push in here. We're actually going to just kind of make a little bit of a play, cutting off the stairwell just a little bit, and now we're able to loot up a little bit more. If an enemy tries to get there, I'm going to get notified with the suppression mine. Notice the good guns. We've got a precision right there, and we are going to be able to find a UAV. Now, Tacos ends up going down, and this is the exact scenario that I told you guys about, right? We've got plenty of cash here. We got, like, what, $15,000 here? That's enough for guns. It's enough for a UAV. It's, of course, enough to get Tacos back. And by the way, there's usually 2 crates in these potential strongholds that aren't the ones with the AI. So that's kind of what we're looking for. We just can't find that second crate anywhere. It ends up not being here. So let's go ahead and push forward. We're going to pop the UAV just to be careful. And when we have information, guys, no matter what it is, we want to take note of where people are. So we're going to take note that there's people over there, as well as the fact that there's people in pass at this stronghold right here. And that just allows us to make a decision about where to rotate to. You know, maybe we're a little bit unsure. We have a general idea of where they are, or maybe it's a scenario where you pop and there's 2 teams that are somewhat close by. You know you're pushing into a third-party situation, which we will see a little bit later on. Now I'm going to buy the RPK. I did talk to my teammates about buying the UAV here, and they kind of assured me, yeah, go ahead and do it. That'll allow us to kind of get that information. And now we can start to go ahead and push here. Real quick, as we're kind of fast forwarding this, we're just going to loot up a little bit. I'm trying to let them get a little bit settled here. Tacos just flew back in. Obviously, they're buying guns and stuff. So as we are looting up and I'm working my way over, if you are looking to get better at Warzone 2, guys, make sure you are subscribed down below. I'm over 3 KD player in this game. And my whole goal is just to help you improve. That's it. Get more kills, get more wins as a squad, you know, have more fun, die a little less, whatever it may be. So if you are looking to get better, make sure you are subscribed. And as always, guys, if you are subscribed already, thank you so much. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I cannot thank you enough. Now, let's go ahead and pop this UAV. Quick little minor tip here, guys. This isn't something big, but like if you dolphin dive here, you can immediately deploy your parachute, and now you can start to fly. So this is a great example of watch how this plays out, guys. When I tell you to remember information and remember where teams are, we're going to go ahead and push over this way. Now, I see this guy flying right here, right? I was thinking, let's go take the solo here first, but this solo is pushing all the way down to hydroelectric, and that kind of takes me out of this fight over here. So we're going to position ourselves high ground. And once we get that initial down and thirst, I kind of gave it away here, but we're going to play high ground. High ground gives me cover. If I go down, my teammates can easily get me. We're going to hit shots with the RPK, and now we can just keep the pressure on this second enemy. And you see how the UAV makes this so much easier because I know exactly what I'm pushing into. Watch the centering as I turn these corners here. Centering there, boom, we're down. That guy has no chance. There's no outplay potential for that guy. So now we immediately start to think about, okay, let's go ahead and push over here towards this hydroelectric guy because we know he's over there, right? That's where I tell you to remember information. Instead of wandering, which is what a lot of you do, we're just going to go ahead. We're going to loot up real quick. Now we're going to start to push over here. Now, I do want to give Punt a lot of credit here as we push over. He makes a really good play. Tacos and I are going to go ahead and push this direction. We're going to start working our way. Punt actually goes, let me slow down for a second, grab a vehicle. Vehicles, guys, are one of the biggest things in this game that I would highly encourage you to use to your advantage. You know, it allows you to, we see one flying in right here. So now by the way, we know that they're over here, right? We know exactly kind of where they are, and we can kind of position ourselves well to fry these guys. But as you see Punt pushing up, it allows you to rotate a little bit better. Now, this is an unfortunate scenario. This guy just happens to have an RPG or a rocket launcher. Like, super, super unfortunate. It's going to chalk our car a little bit, which sucks because it's great to use. It allows you to rotate quicker, allows you to rotate safer. How many times do you get torched when you're out in the open and there's nothing that you can do? Really unfortunate scenario there that guy has an RPG. There's not a whole lot we can do. But we get 5 kills. We're going to loot up super quick here, and then we need to keep moving, guys. Do not linger too much on looted bodies. This one's a little bit different because from that previous UAV, we know we're in a better spot, right? We know there's not a ton of people around here. Once again, you see the dolphin dive off to the parachute. Allows me to get a little bit more distance versus just jumping. Now, we're going to go ahead. We're going to pay attention to 2 things here. First, we're going to check to see if we can get a UAV. Now, we don't just full send the buy station here. We've got to be careful and try to see what's around us. I'm kind of waiting for my teammates to come because there could always be somebody camping buy stations. How many times have you had a situation where somebody's just camping that buy station? The other thing is pay attention to circle, guys. I want to try to fight in circle as much as possible. I just want to avoid the scenario where you get caught out of circle and you're the one being held, which again, spoiler alert, we will see that here in a little bit. By the way, this end game gets a little bit crazy, which we're really going to be talking about how to clutch up end games. Now, right here, we don't have a UAV. We're going to go ahead and work our way over. I don't know what told me to check this crate. I tell you guys not to loot too much. Don't over loot because you want to be focusing on where people are and what's going on around you. But just happen to loot that UAV, which tells us there's a team over here, so we can go ahead and engage. Now, one of the biggest things, guys, is going to be the element of surprise and really, really executing. You know, that element of surprise based on your positioning allows you to take an enemy out of the fight pretty quickly. And when we talk about aim and movement, guys, I'll leave my warm-up video down in the comments below. Actually, I'll leave it for you at the end of this one, how to get better aim. You know, movement's not as important in this game, but aim is absolutely very important because that takes that enemy out of the fight. Now we're going to go ahead and tag that one up just a little bit. And by the way, I don't know if this guy has self-revive or not. I'm not totally sure. He could. We're going to go ahead and use the snapshot right here. I don't want to give up my positioning. I don't know where this second guy went that was close to me. He's the one that I'm really concerned about. The further guy back, we'll handle in a second. You see him rotating into this building right here. And finally, I catch a quick glimpse of him right there. So now I can use my cover, guys. Notice how I'm using cover right here. He doesn't really have a good angle on me. So I'm just going to use this to keep pushing up. And one of the biggest things in this game, guys, is hip fire before you ADS. You know, that is something that you really, really have to get used to because of the TTK, is you want to be hip firing. You can see just how accurate this isn't a hip fire build. This is not a hip fire Fennec right here. But as I go and challenge this, you can see, I mean, look how big the crosshairs are, right? But that ADS time, especially out of a jump, is going to be really slow. So you can see that guy's almost broken before I'm actually ADS, which allows me to get that kill. And look, I've got one plate left here, so you know, I'm able to win that simply because of that probably 2 to 3 plate advantage that I get from hip firing first. And you can do that with ARs, LMGs. Like, when you're in that close range, it's insane how good that hip fire is. So right here, we're going to quick loot. Got to be careful of other teams floating around us. We're going to quick check this for UAV. Whenever we're at a buy station, we're going to check it, guys. We can always stow it for later, right? If we're close to a buy station, make sure that you are checking for UAVs, and that's, again, where cash flow is important. We do technically have enough for a buyback. We technically have enough for a UAV, even if, you know, we wanted to go that route. Once again, we're going to go ahead and speed this up. We're going to rotate to the car, guys, going back to using vehicles. And now we're going to get into zone. Yes, there are, if you were to think right here, guys, think about rotations. Think about where you might get caught. There's probably people rotating in from this side of the map. But there's also probably people that are close to circle already. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and take the car, which I don't like this car that much, by the way, but it's the only option available. I mean, I would take an ATV. I would take the Volk. The Hummer's one of the best options because of its mobility, but you know, and the armored truck is great as well. The Jeep, the open-doored SUV, you can get absolutely torched out of, and the ATV is a little bit tougher to use because you can get torched out of those, but it's what we have available. So, as we push up here, guys, notice two things. This is where I say to remember information, right? So we've got a team up top this way, and we have a team down below to our right. Now, when we talk about cash flow, again, guys, bounty contracts are going to be absolutely meta in this game. Reason being is it does all three things that we need it to do. And if you've been subscribed to me, you've heard me say this before. First, it gives us information about where people are, right? We get the bounty contract notification about where that team is. Second, gives us the opportunity to get kills, right? Because we have the information, we can start to rotate over and figure out where they are. Third is, if we get the kill, it gives us cash flow, which cash is king in this game, and we really need to focus on. So that's one of those where if you can grab a bounty contract, not even if, you can drive to a bounty contract. By the way, I will highlight right there that the only reason that we're over here, two reasons that we're over here. One, Taco's made a really good call about, okay, there's probably people in caves. There's generally people in this area. So when in doubt, push towards the hotter areas of the map. Think about where people might be. Caves is a pretty popular location. Second is, I did say mark this bounty contract right here. Like, let's drive over to that and grab that. And what ends up happening is, the team that is over this direction, that's exactly who it is. So as we kind of speed this up, I catch one enemy right here, catch one right there. So we can go ahead and tag him a little bit. I don't know if I want to give away my location, but I think he sees me as well. So we're going to buy us a little bit of time to reposition and try to get to this better spot up here with a little bit of high ground, a little bit more cover. So we're going to go ahead and work our way over this way. This is a little bit of lack of audio on both of our parts. I don't hear this guy at all. I barely see him right here. I hear him in the bush, but by that time, he doesn't hear us either, and we're able to get that down in thirst. Now, still not bounty, but when we talk about positioning, guys, when we talk about fighting in circle right here, notice how easy this kill is going to be. He has to rotate to us, and he has to rotate out in the open. He's got 36 seconds to get basically behind us, behind our enemy line right here, for lack of a better term. This is a pretty easy kill. We've just got to play positioning. Now, what is one thing I would challenge you on, guys? What is one thing you want to be thinking about right here? You want to be thinking about the fact that you still have a team that's over here. If you were to look at the mini map right here, you still have a team that's over by my mouse. So you got to be really careful of and thinking about your positioning of, okay, that team is still back there. By the way, just from fighting them from tacos and punt, we know that they have snipers. So now we just got to wait for this guy, right? Look at our cash flow again. 5,000, 4,000, 3,000. We got 12,000 total. It's enough for buybacks. Not only could we buy back, but we could also get a UAV here. We could get guns for that person if we need to. Now, we see this team up here, a little bit outside of the RPK range. This is where we talk about positioning, and look, I'm just not going to be able to do much at that range. There's not a whole lot I can do. What I can do is just kind of scare them a little bit. I can kind of frighten them a little bit, make them get to cover. You know, maybe with Taco sniping, we can get it down potentially. And my job in this scenario is I'm not going to be able to get enough damage on my own to be able to get a kill. It's not going to happen at this range. So my goal is to kind of help the sniper out a little bit. So maybe the sniper breaks and I get the down and the sniper can get the finish, right? Or maybe I get a few tags. That allows the sniper to get the down and then get the finish. So that's where we're kind of working together to be able to potentially get it down and thirst and take an enemy out of the fight. Now, right here, once again, we're going to check for a UAV, and we don't have anything. Now, when you look at this circle, what should you be thinking right here? What we're going to be thinking is, instead of trying to fight these guys now who have high ground, they've got cover, they're in a good spot, why don't we rotate forward and just hold them out of circle? So you're going to see us make this decision right here just to rotate. And by the way, if you can, you're going to see me kind of jump off here and fly right about now. We're going to dolphin dive off. That allows us to pull the parachute. You should be flying around. Now, flying around from here just allows us to rotate less out in the open, right? We can cover a lot more distance a lot quicker. But when you're jumping from high ground, sometimes like observatory, or, you know, you're flying down to somewhere, maybe it's high rise, you can actually see a lot of what's going on and use that to your advantage. You can see down below, you can potentially see people moving. Now, right here, we decide, okay, we're in circle. Let's go ahead and engage them, right? Now we're in a spot where we can fight them. And once again, going back to that last situation with the bounty, now we're in a spot where they absolutely have to rotate to us. Do I stow that? No, I don't stow that. I was thinking I might have stowed that just in case somebody died, but not 100% sure. Now they're flying down. This is really tough right here because if somebody's flying straight, kind of, I guess, parallel to you, it's really easy to hit those shots, but the bullet velocity trying to shoot this angle is really, really tough. So now we're going to go ahead and push this way. We try to get a sense, we try to kind of predict where they're going, and I am going to use snapshots to my advantage. I like snapshots a lot. The other really good the other really good tactical is actually going to be smokes. I'm always running one of those two, is either smokes or snapshots. You can, of course, run flashes. Just be careful that flashes don't really work that well. They don't flash the enemy for that long. In super close quarters, they are. But if you throw that and then it takes some time to get into fighting that team or that player, it tends to go away. So use your lethals and tacticals. Make sure you're using those and paying attention to kind of what you have. Now, I shouldn't be looting too much, but those cash registers, and they are in gas stations, that's what I was going for. Those cash registers are really, really good for having a ton of cash in there. You know, anywhere from a few hundred to a, you know, 3K. Now, right here, guys, we're just going to be able to cover for tacos and punt as we are trying to figure out what's going on. I hear footsteps. I see him. So I'm in a position to challenge here, right? I'm just going to hold this angle. Punt's got to, or Tacos has to be careful. He's low plates. We're able to get that knock, and now we're able to go ahead and precision. Unfortunately, this is a little bit of map knowledge, guys, and this is where one of the biggest things I can give you is just try to start to learn the map a little bit. You know, understand how to get to rooftops. There's two big things when getting to rooftops, guys. There's generally always a ladder, and there's always a jump spot. Those two things. You can jump on AC units. You can jump on little ledges. There's always a jump spot. Not in this case, but we got to find the stairs here. But, you know, it's one of those where the more map knowledge you have, the more you can kind of outplay enemies. Notice Punt actually knows this area pretty well, and he's able to get that roof and get that thirst. And unfortunately, right now, we're finally able to get up top. Now, one of the biggest tips for endgame, as we start focusing on this endgame, which is going to be fourth circle, right? The way I kind of break the game down is first circle is going to be early game. Then you've got mid game is second and third. Then fourth circle starts to get endgame. You still have Gouge. You know, Gouge is still open. I haven't used my Gulag at all, so that's a good sign. And I actually say right in this moment, look at how far this rotation is, guys. There's two things that I notice in this scenario. First, like I said, guys, fourth circle, we're starting to get to that end game point. Look how far we have to rotate. And not only do we have to rotate this far, but we don't have a car. So I actually tell them, guys, let's rotate early here. I still have Gouge. So if I die, I can still come back for the next, you know, 2 minutes or something. It's like 45 seconds plus the time for it to actually close. So, and I see that car. That car is kind of our recipe for success here to get across the street where we actually need to be. When you look at this one right here, do I open the minimap right here? I think I do. Yeah, right here. So when we look at this, guys, circle's going to finish somewhere over here. The chances of it finishing on this side are pretty slim just because of how much of that circle's in. So when you start looking at this circle, right, you can see that it's pulling pretty far towards Seraph Bay and kind of this area right here. So we want to keep that in mind, and you can use this to your advantage, right? Long side of the circle, short side of the circle. We can use that to kind of predict where it's going to be. So I want to get that car, but most importantly, we need to find a way to get across. Once again, guys, you're going to see this dolphin dive mechanic right here. Dolphin dive off the roof. Now we're able to hold our parachute, and we're able to fly all the way across right here and make it a little bit easier. We don't have to worry about swimming or rotating that way. You know, we're just going to go ahead and push up. Now, I pinged that building just to see if that's in, but here is where we start thinking about the car. Oh, we see the car. I'm rotating over. We're trying to grab it because that's kind of our safety rotate, right? It's a way to easily rotate to cover to the other side without worrying about rotating out in the open, getting shot, and we can get to the building that we want to. Right there, we get the down. Now, right here, I get the kill confirmed, and I see that there's another team right here. So we need to now keep in mind that there is another team. One guy just stole our car. So now we're in a really tough spot here because we're going to talk about this rotation and kind of how we play it and really pay attention to our decision-making. 12 kills, by the way. I don't know how many my teammates have, but they've got a few in there as well. We're just going to go ahead. I actually don't know what happens here, guys, because that thing is technically refueling and repairing. Like, am I doing damage to that? Like, I really just have absolutely no idea. Disengage, right? As we talked about before, if we can rotate early, guys, that's one of the biggest tips that I can give you is when it comes to rotations and positioning, you want to try to rotate early to get yourself in the best position possible. So now we're kind of going back and forth right here. You know, do we push across the street? Do we hold these guys out of circle? We know there's at least three, right? The two from the building where I precisioned, and then there was the one that was in the car. So we know there's at least three enemies here. So we're just going to go ahead and play a little bit of positioning and try to, focus on our high ground, and holding them out of circle allows us to continue to pick up free kills. You know, if you are in circle with high ground and cover, those kills, they have to come to you. So as long as you're executing, and you can see me actually push up here further. Notice I'm like, oh, well, these guys can technically just sit in this building right here. So I decide to rotate over and try to get to that spot. Now we got the most wanted right here. We got people rotating across the street. So they're kind of pushing towards that most wanted a little bit. And now we've just got to wait, and we've just got to execute. And that's the biggest thing with positioning. You know, yep, we'll jump across. The mantle in this game is really good, guys, so we can use that to our advantage. We can use that. So we're going to see a guy right here. Yep. By the way, when it comes to thirsting, don't oversell for the thirst. I can just shoot his toes right there. There's nothing that he can do. So we're at 13 right here. We're still going to pick up a bunch of kills towards this end game. Early game can be hot or slow depending on where you land and what you're looking to do. Mid game gets a little bit slower. It's one area that I'd like to see them speed up a little bit. And then end game gets chaotic, guys. End game, you can pick up a ton of kills. Right there, we get one team wipe, but Pun makes a really good comm that there's actually another enemy here somewhere right behind this wall. And I'm like, I don't see him. I got to be careful. I don't want to drop down here. I want to be really careful. I don't see him anywhere. He ends up precisioning, so I'm going to go ahead and push back in here, which I didn't dawn on me that I was in gas. And then I'm like, oh, I got to get into circle right here. And then I hear him over to my right. We get some footsteps. Yep, there's that team wipe right there. And now we go, okay, we do have to rotate in here. We do have to rotate in. We've got a pretty long rotate once again, and we just can't really get a circle pull right here. Little bit of a mistake on our end because we know it's pushing this way, and we weren't able to capitalize on that car. On top of that, we didn't have a car to begin with, right? If we have a car throughout the entire game, we're in a much better spot to rotate here. But instead, we are forced to rotate pretty far out in the open and just hope that nobody's here. On top of this, guys, look at our tactical. We don't have smokes. Smokes are great for rotating. They're great if you're downed as well and you self-revive. You could throw that smoke, cut that line of sight, and then escape from there. But it's a really good option to, you know, rotate through that smoke and kind of give yourself cover. Now, I do see one backside this way over here. Pun's also getting shot, but I'm focused on that guy. Once again, burn our precision. I should not have burned that precision right there. That precisions are really good. I didn't need to get that thirst. That thirst was nice, but I didn't need to get it. Now, when you look at this right here, guys, we're kind of caught in an interesting spot. We know that there's a team there. Tacos has to plate. I have to plate. We also know that there's a team right here that Punch just got killed by. So this is where we're constantly thinking about, okay, where are enemies? Where do we need to get to? We're thinking about trying to get to this building straight ahead, but we know there's a team over there that we got to be careful of. We see this guy rotating out in the open. Once again, guys, there's nothing that he can do. There's nothing that he can do right here because he has to rotate to us. That's one of the biggest tips that I can give you is focusing on trying to be in circle as much as possible and be the one that is holding people out of circle versus the one that is, being held out. Be the one that's in circle and getting the free kills versus this guy, right? Versus, you being that guy who there's nothing he can do. Now we're going to go ahead. We still know that there's a team straight across here. Still know that there's a team right in this blue building somewhere. So we're going to go ahead and try to push up a little bit here. Trying to go back and forth between rotating right and rotating left. I know Tacos just went down over here, but he does have self-revive. So we're going to equip the gas mask. And let's go ahead and rotate around here. Now, my goal here is to play piece of cover to piece of cover. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to be able to tag that guy just a little bit. I was caught out in the open, so what I should have done, I should have pushed up to this truck right here. I should have pushed up to the truck and then shot across, right? Because they're not really thinking about me in this moment. If I push to the truck, I have a lot more cover, plus I'm in a better spot to be able to get that down. But I do have gas mask, so we're not in a terrible spot right here. 17 kills, still 6 other teams still alive, so we're still in a really good spot to be able to clutch up this 20 bomb. We're going to throw that nade because I know they're watching me here. I know they're all eyes on me, and now we got to push up. As we push up right here, we're going to catch one over to the right. We get shot, unfortunately, there by somebody random. And now as I try to retreat, I end up going down. Now, I am going to be able to use the self-revive pistol here, but I do get thirsted. So let's go ahead and switch over to Tacos. Let's go ahead and watch Tacos clutch this up right here. He's going to push up. Just using his dolphin diving, he's paying attention to the truck, not trying to get run over. Dolphin diving is one of the best movements that you can use. Trying to tag him up just a little bit. Shots aren't great, but that guy's going to be able to get away. And we kind of tell him, hey, you got to be careful here because that is a most wanted. If that guy brings his teammates back, like that adds a whole nother dynamic. But he ends up getting killed right there. Now, Tacos has a TAC 56 right here as well as a sniper. The snipers are okay. It gives you an interest. It gives you a better... I don't know. It's a little bit tougher to use because it doesn't... than the RPK because it doesn't one-shot. But, and it's got to be quick. You got to like tap. But the RPK is still really, really good. Now, right here, what ends up happening, guys, is we forget about that team that's rotating behind. Remember the team that was right here? This is where you always got to remember information. So he's kind of checking this way, trying to see what he can find. And unfortunately, he goes down, guys. That was 23 kills as a squad. I've got more videos coming for you over the next few weeks or so, helping you continue to improve. But I hope you found today's video helpful. As I always say, tough 7-play finish right there. Just couldn't get a circle pull. I think that's one of the biggest things, guys. We just kept getting that pull kept going further and further and further, and there were already teams in circle that were tough to fight. So I hope you found today's video helpful. As I always say, let's get better today, and I will see you tomorrow.